Prediction shot. We are now 73 games into an Astros season.
Yes.
Is Espada a one-year manager? Do they make a move if this continues the way it's going? Let's just say they don't make the playoffs. I don't know if they're going to be 7 games under 500. Let's say the injuries are too much, the inconsistency with the bats are too much. They don't make the playoffs. Is Espada done? Do they clean him out and start new?
I think it does matter a little bit if they finish the season like 82-80, or like he finishes with a winning record, just missed the playoffs because we dug ourselves a big hole in April and in May and June. And they were a good baseball team for the second half. They just couldn't get out of their own way in the first half. I think he stays. But if it's the entire season, they paid $30 million to have Jose Abreu go away from him. I don't think they would have to pay $30 million to have Joe Espada go away from him.
Yeah, the ins and outs of how much managers make, we don't really see that. And I don't know how much Espada is making per year, or what the length how much the total as far as the contract is concerned with. But I agree, and it kind of matters who pushed for him to get hired, because if it was a Jim Crane joint, he might keep him around because that's the guy he believed in. If it was someone else, I could see Jim Crane saying that's not my guy.
But
I know I hired him, but it's not a guy I was strongly for. So
I would even say, even if he was his guy,
that's
you
true.
know who else was his guy? Jose Abreu.
That's true.
The Jose Abreu, the release, I guess, of Jose Abreu has really, like, now, really, to me, like, no one's that safe.
But they tried really hard to make it work. It wasn't like, okay, this is clear that it's not going to happen. Get out of here. They tried hard. Will they give that type of effort for a spot, or will they say over 162 that was enough?
Yeah,
we could have fired you mid-season, I guess, but they wouldn't do that.
No, they're not gonna. I would be surprised if they fired him mid-season. But I mean, they released Jose Abreu after 60-something games.
There's a season before that too, where he was bad.
But he was good in the playoffs
For a series. He wasn't good in the playoffs.
Also, he wasn't this bad last year.
Sure.
This is a new level of bad.
Well, is Espada, not that I blame him for everything, is Espada this year the same as Abreu bad this year? No, it's more like last year.
Yeah, where it's just he leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah,
but he's not terrible.
And you can point to the injuries as another reason why things aren't going his way. Dana Brown spoke today, and it was more of the same. A lot about cutting the lead in half. Got to get on one of these roles he's been talking about. They also will be looking into starting pitching if it makes sense. I'm glad now we're throwing in caveats, because at one point, the report last week from John Heyman was the Astros were looking for 1 to 2 starting pitchers. Now, Dana Brown, if it makes sense, and we know what if it makes sense means. If you're in the race, if you have any chance of competing for a title, because don't acquire a starting pitcher to chase a wild card spot, particularly if you think that's where this team tops out at no matter who you acquire. And I don't think they're acquiring anyone that's going to put them over the top to really challenge for a World Series. And that should be the goal for this team. There are teams with different goals who haven't accomplished as much as the Astros, and those teams should be looking to make the playoffs because it's a step in the right direction, particularly if you would have team control over the pitcher you acquire. The Astros aren't going to acquire anyone, at least in my eyes, who is better than what they have, injured or otherwise. Now, is Justin Verlander going to be part of a playoff chase? We know he's on the IL now. The question will be for how long. And Sean and I talked about this in the first hour. History suggests that the IL is just the first move in a longer time missing from the roster. It's just what has been the case with the Astros this year. Discomfort. We think he'll be back soon. Hold on. We were wrong. We're still evaluating on the IL UCL surgery, or I say UCL, but Tommy John surgery is the name. I don't know what the issue is with Verlander. He has neck discomfort. Christian Javier had neck discomfort. And then disaster. I'm hoping that's not the case with Verlander. I don't know anything other than neck discomfort, but the neck discomfort has now led to an extended absence. We'll just see how long that absence is. And Dana Brown will continue to make those weekly appearances as he's contractually obligated to, and have to. I'm looking for and have to answer questions. I'm looking for, as this continues to go on, how the discussion changes. He goes from on a roll to potentially adding a starter if it makes sense, to we're taking a look at our young players. When do we get to that point? Does it happen in July? Do we wait till August where we start to see younger players get more time because they come to the conclusion that this is a season that can't be salvaged?
Other than Joey Loperfido, though, are there really guys ready for
There are guys being
the
pushed.
major league? Like,
Yeah,
well,
the major league level.
Let's just take a look. Like, I maybe in the course of the discussion, it'll become more and more like, let's kind of shift it to the stuff I'm excited to talk about. Look at Bryce Matthews is doing. Look how that pitcher Bliss.
He starts to talk about some of the guys he's drafted.
Yeah, start talking about. By the way, look at this great stuff we got going on in Corpus Christi.
The future is bright. This year is a step back, but help is coming. Things like that.
Oh, there's definitely going to be a listen. This year, we all know this year hasn't gone how we wanted, how we expected. But this is not a rebuild. 2025. We're building for 2025.
We will always compete, and we have reinforcements coming. Yeah. Young guys who we like, who will get chances as we move along. I'm waiting for that point where he won't openly come out and say, this one's over. But even the question asker has to start directing things in a different way, because he can't answer the same question over and over again in different ways. He's run out of ways to answer the questions about this current roster and what they're going to do. Is it a trade deadline thing? If they don't make a move at the trade deadline because the record says it doesn't make any sense, we start to talk about the future.
No, because then you can still do there just weren't any trades that I felt comfortable.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we still like our team?
No good trades. Sorry. No good trades this year. But yeah, we still love the position we're at. By the way, we have McCullers and Garcia coming back. That's basically like making a trade deadline acquisition. So I think they'll make a trade. I don't know if it'll be a difference maker kind of trade though. I think it'll be I think Mancini and Christian Vasquez, not Zach Greinke and Justin Verlander.
You don't think they're even trading anyone off the Major League roster? That would be something that would shake some.
Oh, if they're sellers.
Like, would they be sellers if things continue to go this way? Would Bregman be the guy who exits because they know they're not bringing him back? That would be drastic. I'm not saying it wouldn't be smart, because leave there with something. Bregman hasn't been great this year. He's been better recently, but you don't just let the guy walk if you know he's not coming back. What's the point of keeping him for a couple months for the farewell tour if you know you're not signing him?
Yeah, part of the reason they never traded Correa or Springer or Cole or any of these guys on the last year of their deal.
They were competing.
Because
titles were in question.
They're going to the World Series half the time. So it never made sense to, let's recoup some value instead of letting them walk for nothing. Now they're in the position, if they don't do what Dana Brown says and cuts the lead in half by the end of July, at then that point, if there's still 9 games back in the division, that's when it starts to make sense of, take a couple dart throws on some prospects instead of having Bregman or Presley or any one of these guys just walk for nothing.